Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Beth Farnsworth, coming to you live from west of Tulsa. Can I say live?
No, we're not live.
We're not live.
We're not
I'm
live.
just coming to you.
I mean, we're alive, but
I'm with a great group, a high-octane group of gals.
Ooh, I like that.
We're outnumbered. Gals are outnumbering the guys today, which is kind of fun. That's a rarity.
awkward.
To my right, Brenda Rippey, car aficionado, makeup artist, photographer, and just an incredible woman in her own right. So we're going to get to know her. My husband sitting next to her, CJ Ward. I was ejected from the passenger seat, by the way, and put into the driver's seat by you. So
And I was kicked out of that seat
I'm
because we're outnumbered. The guys are outnumbered.
That's right.
so-
I'm not sure how well I'll drive, but we're trying. And to my left, Denise Farrar, maximum velocity clothing outwear that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
You also are a car aficionado.
Absolutely.
Photographer.
Yes.
And all these wonderful things too. We're going to get to know more about you.
Absolutely. Can't wait for it.
And to her left, Christina Jimenez, Lane Drifters. This is your third time appearing here.
A friend of the show. She's
That's
officially
right.
a friend of the show.
That's right.
Does that make her an official host at some point?
She's going to be a host.
She's
Absolutely.
an official field reporter, that's for sure.
Yeah.
She gets around.
I do.
She gets around.
Yes.
And who else gets around? Gabe Schroer.
Yes.
Did I say it correctly?
Nope, but that's all right.
Seriously? Okay, say it.
Schroer.
Schroer.
Like thrower.
Thrower.
Just say thrower and put an SCH in front of it.
And let's move on.
There's a W in there. All right. Anyhow, thanks for joining us. And Dan Brockett,
Yes.
last but not least.
It's nice to have a studio full of ladies here with a couple of dudes, but
It's
mostly
really,
ladies.
it's really fun to be here. So somebody was saying that they can go from 0 to 6 quickly.
That's
Brenda,
me.
was it
Yeah,
you?
100%.
Talk. What's behind that?
If you give me something to do, I'll do it fast and do it furious and get it done and handle it and move on.
Wow. And what kind of car is usually involved for you?
Porshhh.
A specific type?
Any type.
Any type of Porsche?
Any.
Okay.
Even
any
a
kind.
914?
Oh, well, yeah, sure. I'll drive a 914.
914.6.
A 914.6. I don't.
give the
Yeah,
flat
914
six?
sixes are really nice.
Yeah, the 6, the bigger motor.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything, just Porsche for some reason. I'm German. The car's German. You know, I grew up always wanting to be around Porsches, so I'm obsessed.
It's a good answer.
I have to tell you something that I learned because I am not a car gal. Excuse me, but Gabe has taught me, my husband CJ, Dan, and I've learned from all of our guests. It's Por-sha.
It is
I
Porshhh.
know.
Because it's a name, right? It's somebody's
know.
name.
I was
actually waiting for Denise
to correct her. I'm always getting corrected.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's a reminder because I have to remind myself as well.
Por-sha.
Okay.
Good thing Helm's not here because he would have been like, technically it's
Yeah.
Porsche because it's the
Yes,
last
he
name.
would have.
And I don't say anything anymore
Yeah.
because so many people. It's
I know.
almost split.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. I agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I usually correct people mostly, but I was like, I'll just wait for it and see if
Yeah,
somebody else.
being a polite
Yeah,
yes.
I'm trying to
Hey.
be polite, and at least in the beginning, right? We'll
I'm
see
the
how everything
newbie.
develops.
Bring it. I can take 0 to 60.
Denise, how about you? 0 to 6.
Oh well, so my project car is my 2012 my 2000 Ford Focus that I've had for almost 12 years, and I've built 3 engines for that, 2 high compression engines with full Cosworth goodies. I did a standalone ECU a couple years ago, so that is my car. When I want to go and have a fun time, that's the car that I drive.
You don't think of a Ford Focus as being fast and having a lot of stuff behind it.
No, but it's the lightweightness of the car, that power to weight ratio, and it's a high compression, naturally aspirated engine. So she only puts down about 200 wheel, but it's the lightness of the car, and then the shorter ratio, she puts down that power really quickly. So, I mean, you don't need a lot of power to have fun with the car.
You lost me at naturally aspirated. What does that mean?
So turbochargers, superchargers, that's forced induction. You're forcing more air into the engine for more combustible boom, boom power.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, boom, boom. Everybody likes those
I like boom, boom
purrs.
power.
And you
Yeah,
work
yeah.
on it yourself?
Yes, I became certified in engine rebuilding and machining back in around 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
so-
got you into this?
Well, I actually grew up loving cars, so I loved playing Hot Wheels, and I loved playing Need for Speed 2 and Need for Speed Underground when I was a kid. And that eventually grew into wanting to tinker on my own cars because when I was in college, I couldn't afford to take my car into the shop to get repairs done. I was a broke college kid with a part-time job, right? And so from there, it went from doing basic maintenance to helping my friends with maintenance and wanting to put on some little power adders. And then once the full bolt-ons came on, I just became so interested in what makes a car tick. And the feeling of appreciation when you turn that key and know that you're the one that made that repair. You're the reason why that car is on the road. And when my first engine blew, it lasted 33,000 miles, and I was driving home from Oklahoma. I was 100 miles from home, and my engine blew. I knew it was going, and I was hoping I could baby it to the end. But no, alas, she got me all the way to Victorville from Oklahoma.
Wow. Oh,
That's
so
pretty
close.
incredible.
Yes.
So
yeah.
close.
Yes, and it was like right 100 miles at the mark. And the tow truck driver said if it was any more, it would have been way more money for you to get that car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, I felt like it was, I owed it to the car to bring her back.
Yeah.
And I worked with, I used to work at Coastline Motorsport over in Woodland Hills. And because I had worked there, I was able to use the shop to help bring my car back to life. I was living with a family. I didn't have my own garage. I didn't have a place that I could work on the car. So I was really upset at first until I realized, like my boss said, yep, just put it on up as long as we could roll the car around the shop. Take care of what you need to. So I had a engine stand inside my office, and during my breaks, and maybe sometimes not when I was on break, I would tinker on the engine. And eventually we rolled it out, and we got the engine back inside the that engine bay, and the transmission stayed in there with the axles in the whole time. So getting that to pair up with it being a front wheel drive, so it's sitting side by side with the transmission, right? There's not a lot of space to get that hooked back up. But we were able to do that, did the whole break-in process. That was back in 2018, and that engine is still in the car today.
That's incredible. You know, it may sound silly to say, but cars kind of have a soul. Like
They
want
absolutely
to
do.
work well for you.
Yes.
Thus going so far with it, and then how it fell apart. But
Combustible engine cars have a soul.
Yeah, that's true.
My
That's
Tesla
true.
has no soul.
That's very true.
It's
That's
the
very
toaster
true.
oven.
there we go.
I'll add if you don't mind, I'll add one last note. This car was very important to me because I was born with cystic fibrosis, and that car was my escape from everything I was dealing with in life. Even family issues, basic relationship drama, all that. My car was always there, never let me down. Every drive that I wanted, I could go on, and I could just feel free for a bit.
I feel like that's
Until
kind of
Victorville.
until Victorville.
Well, she's back on the road, so that's okay.
I feel like that's kind of a common thread among women for sure, and probably men as well, that your car is your best friend.
Absolutely.
It's your therapist. You can listen to whatever you want, music-wise, whatever, whatever. I mean, it is your oasis. It is your safe zone. It's your home on wheels.
It's also
Absolutely.
your nemesis too. So,
It
can be.
right?
Absolutely.
It can be,
And
depending.
that's the unique thing, I think, because what you're saying is, it's for guys and girls, by the way. It's not just girls. But that whole thing, like, I could be pissed off at my car and wanting to roll it off of a cliff.
Right.
At the same time, like, this is my pride and joy. I would never do anything to hurt you.
Right.
At the same exact time. It's such an odd feeling. And I think only car people can understand that.
Yeah,
feeling,
I too. And Christina, you know this well. Just a quick background on lane drifters, and that is really a phenomenal skill sport. What's behind your love of that? And you are so wonderful at bringing people together with their
she
love
is.
of cars.
She absolutely is.
And the destination, the journeys.
Yeah. I just have, right now I'm just still really in love with my 240 because it was like practically my first car, went away, bought it back, and now I get to enjoy it again. So that right now is what I'm having the most fun with, and going to car shows. And I'm not tracking that car because I promised the owner I would not hurt it. But yeah, no, my big thing is just getting more women together and comfortable and enjoying life and enjoying cars. And it's been epic. I mean, the last few years have been great. I met Denise. I had Denise on my podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of we met, and then we just clicked. She's my best friend. So yeah, she does a lot of the Toys for Tots type of stuff. And so
Yeah, Motor for Toys. This will be my 8th year this year working with Motor for Toys, and Motor for Toys is a great organization. I think that this year will be the 21st anniversary of Motor for Toys, And it's a huge toy drive that happens. It's run by Dustin Troyan in partnership with dealerships and everything to collect as many toys as possible to donate or have law enforcement donate to lower income neighborhoods.
Is this during the holidays only, or is it year round?
They do collection all year round, but the major car show happens the first Sunday in December every single year. And it is an event you definitely don't want to miss.
And where's the hub for all of this?
It's going to be at Pierce College. It's been there for quite a few years now, but it's same weekend, same place every year.
It's the Supercar Sunday.
Yep, Supercar Sunday.
Northridge, is that correct?
That's what is that? That's Woodland Hills, isn't it?
Woodland Hills,
Yeah, Woodland Hills. Yeah.
But I don't want to peg you, but I have to because we need to talk about it because this is every update that every time Christina comes on the show is the Cars Speed dating.
Oh,
that's right. Yes, how is that?
Goodness.
Now, have
Because not only are you bringing women together, now you're bringing women and men together.
Bringing women and men
Excuse
together.
me, what?
Yes.
What are
So
you
is
doing?
this only
Yes.
only
Yes.
certain types of drives, Subarus only, or
No,
what
no,
is-
no, no. So actually, I've been trying to let people know that although there's going to be these events are supposed to be, the idea is having like a car show. And then maybe after the car show, do a speed dating inside the area that we're going to be doing the show at. So, I started the Instagram page, so that's going good. I'm starting to slowly get followers trickle in. And I feel like people are very shy about it. So I've been trying to push it more on my personal page and trying to talk to more people on a different level because they're kind of like not sure about it.
Right.
But then when I tell them about it, they're like, I'm on board. They're like super excited. And like I saw one of my buddies on Saturday at the K&N Cars and Coffee, and he was like, okay, sign me up. I'm ready. And so I have a spreadsheet of people already.
Amazing.
And I'm hoping that we get our first event going in the next month or two. I'm going to start putting some updates on the Instagram page.
Put a
Very
face to
nice.
the people who are interested.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, it's actually quite a big range. I have some of I'll say so far, I've had more interest from guys, which is funny because I just kind of like, I'm around a lot of girls all the time doing events. So now it's like the guys are really interested. So I've been working a lot with guys on the back end of things, and it's a little strange, but I would say I'm getting people in their 20s and 50s, and and it's mostly like everybody seems to be into cars, but everybody always says that the person doesn't have to be into cars. So like the guy is like, well, she can be into cars. It's an advantage or a plus, but not necessary. So I'm trying to also let people know that this is an event for everyone. You don't have to be into cars. I want it to be open to everyone. But I feel like most people who I know or are friends of friends have some sort of connection to cars. They like cars. They may not know a lot about cars, but they like them. They like driving them. And so I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a fun little.
It's going to be fun to watch all the single people.
It is going to be. I love that.
Mingling.
And single is the key word too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Well, so, yes.
I would hope so.
So this is one of the challenges so far is that a lot of people like the idea of dating, but I have to be honest with them and I have to be like, okay, look, if you're going to be serious about this, I only want people who are serious. If you are just a person that wants to hook up, that's fine. But this is not about just hooking up.
Right.
This is finding relationships, lasting relationships, somebody you can spend your life with. That's what this is about. I don't want people thinking that this is some sort of like hookup thing because it's not.
That's a great point because especially we all know how small the car community
Yes.
is.
Oh, yes.
You start doing dirty stuff in the
Yeah.
community, you're going to get
Yep.
ousted, and you're
True.
probably going to shoot yourself in the foot.
That's right.
For doing that because when the word spreads, and it
Yeah.
will,
Yes.
True.
Absolutely.
you're not going to have a chance in that scene again.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point to make. It's like, hey, this is for something wholesome. This is not like Tinder. You're swiping and
Right,
you're
right,
hooking up
right.
or whatever. You know. So
Yeah. And that's the other thing is I personally am not going to be involved in the dating portion of it.
Okay.
I've already had a couple people ask me like, oh, well, are you going to be? I'm like, no.
That's very flattering, but no.
I'm just running the thing. I'm not, especially because with this whole thing, I know a lot of information about people now. And so, and it's all private, but because you have certain questions you have to ask. to try and get the right people matched up.
You have to vet.
And I, now that I kind of like know a little bit of information about people, I want no part of that. So
In other words, you know too much.
yeah. So it's exciting though.
Too much information about them personally, or like,
Yeah.
like seeing dyno sheets on their cars.
Yeah, literally. She has a dossier on everybody.
I have like
What kind of mods they have on their car?
so like I know like some of the questions I ask are what are just some of the basic things that you want from someone? Because it is kind of a matchmaking process when you do speed dating. You have to make sure you have like the right age groups. You have to make sure you have the right personalities, kind of, because everybody is so different. And that's okay. But I have guys who are like, well, I want this, this, and this. This is what I'm looking for. I don't want this. I kind of know ages. I know what they want to date in age, and it's all different. So
Are the women the same way too? Do they ask the same questions?
yes, yeah,
Well, that's cool.
yeah.
Brenda, I want to ask you. Your ears kind of perked up when you're. Oh, speed dating. That sounds interesting. Talk about
Speed. Anything with speed. Yes, I'm there.
So talk about that. Your love of cars and what the purpose is for you when you get behind the wheel of Porshas.
Yeah. Porshas, yes, thank you.
What you love most.
I remember my first experience was only 3 years ago, and I couldn't afford that whole car scene, and it's a whole story how that happened if we have time. But I remember being convertible, going down Canaan, up Canaan, down Canaan, Aerosmith blasting, top down, and I was like the biggest smile, and I was screaming, going, yeah! Jamming. I was like 110. I was like,
What time was it? Daylight or at night?
It was like 6:30 in the morning.
Ooh.
Yeah, I get up early, go to the beach, like
It's a
do
good
that
time to do
thing.
it,
Yeah, really early.
And most importantly, which Aerosmith song was playing?
it was Dream On.
Okay.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that
Great
one.
one.
And I just remember going, I'm hooked. I'm in. I'm so there. I don't know what I need to do, but I'm going to sell my firstborn, whatever, and just be in the world of Porsches. All cars. I grew up around cars, classic cars mostly.
Love it.
I used to host a TV show on cars.
You did?
Yeah, a long time ago.
So what was the background on that? And was this a love through family?
Yeah. So my father worked for GM for a dealership, Chevy, Cadillac, BMW for 60 years.
Oh, wow.
And from my ages of 8 to 18, he raised me. And on the weekends, he'd go, come down the part lane. Let's go look at the parts. This is clutch plate, how it works. And I'm like, oh my God, like 10 years old, like what? But now I have a serious appreciation for learning all that, And so my dad really ushered me into the world of cars and sounds and engines and all that stuff, like Harleys. And he had a 57 El Camino. We called it Silver Bullet. He had a 57 Thunderbird convertible. He had a 57 Bel Air coupe in famous turquoise, island turquoise. And that car had 0 title on it. And it was amazing. It was pushed from the neighbor's yard or garage into our garage. When the neighbor passed, it just went right into my dad's garage. And he never got it running. But it was fun to sit in it and talk about it and hear his memories. And I just remember those big fins on the back, the twin fins. And so I just always was around noises and cars and tinkering. And then, as I grew up from 8 to 18, I have a younger sister, my dad would say, go to the dealership and go walk down the aisles and see what car you want to bring home. I'm like, what? So once in a while, my dad would let us pick out cars and Trans Ams and like the Smoking the Bandit Trans Am and ever. And he'd bring them home and he'd take me and my sister out for cruising. And then here comes the rebel part for me. I would take them out late at night.
Well, everybody was sleeping.
So bad. My dad was asleep. And I was like 15 and a half, didn't even have a license yet. And I would take the company cars and I would push them, and some, they were manual. I would start them, how you do that. And
Pop the clutch.
you pop the clutch, thanks. And I'd just go out cruising with my sister, who was like 5.
Oh my God! Did you ever get caught?
gosh.
Never got caught.
Wow.
And
So
it's
he
a
didn't
small
check
town.
mileage. He didn't before he went to bed. He didn't go. All right, we got 1,150 miles on this car.
I think he said he didn't because he didn't want to handle the consequences of me and him if that happened. But one time I did take one out. It was I think it was a IROC. Remember the IROCs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Camaro.
And my
Was it
last name
Camaro?
is Rippy, right? So it was like Rips Rock. You know, my dad, his name was Rip Rippy, and so I remember my sister going, Dad is checking the mileage. I'm like, I'm going to the next door neighbor's house to play, you know? And I'm like, oh God, my heart's racing. And he goes, you know, she didn't take the car. I told my sister, because the tires are turned this way. And I made sure I marked them. Well, I knew that. And so I put the tires back the same way.
You became very observant at a young
I
age,
was
didn't you?
really
Wow.
observant.
Covering
at
your
a-
tracks.
Yeah, exactly. So needless to say, I grew up around all that. And driving the Porsche was something that I jumped from classic cars and hosting a television show called Vintage Vehicle Show with Lance Lambert. Have y'all ever heard of that?
No.
I haven't. I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah, and so I was trying to go online to find the episode. I did like 3 episodes and went to Bob's Big Boy in Burbank, you know, the
Nice.
whole thing, and interviewed people in their cars. And I just had a predilection for stories like you guys do, you know? And so that's how it all evolved. And I kind of didn't come back to it until this major family event that happened about 4.5 years ago, where I lost my dad, not physically, but mentally. So it's very painful, but then it caused me to pause and go, what am I not doing that's really fun in my life? And why am I pausing things? And Porsche's. Can't just Porsche's, you know? So a coworker said to me like 15 years ago, and it stuck in my head. And she said, hey, didn't I see you in a Porsche, driving a Porsche, convertible, hair flowing? And I was like, no, that wasn't me. And she goes, no, I swear it was white. It was beautiful. And she went on and on and on. I remember going home that night, and it stuck with me for like 15 years. How come she could see me in that car, but I couldn't see myself in that car? And I said, I need to get there. I need to get there. Now, I don't come from money. I worked really hard. Dan knows me. I work, you know, in the service industry. And so I just made it happen.
You make an interesting point, because I feel like this is a common story, and I'm going to ask this question to all 4 of you ladies, including you, Beth, because believe it or not, you are a car person.
You are here for a
she
reason.
is. She
Exactly.
is.
Because now every single one of you, no matter what you do for your day job or what was your previous day job, you've now made automobiles or cars or motorcycles or whatever a part of your life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Was it an evolution, like you were talking about how things evolve, or was it an instant moment where you're like, I'm done, I'm doing this car thing, because you all have either a business or starting a business that involves cars. You have to make a decision to do that.
Yeah.
So was that an evolution, or was that a switch? I'll start with you, Brenda.
Yeah, thanks. For me, it was both. It was obviously an evolution because I remember at 5 years old, my dad's 57 T-Bird. But the minute that happened with my family, that big event, I just said, I got to make a switch, right? And then that's where Turo comes in, and I started renting Porsches on Turo to see which one I wanted to buy and what happened. And
Smart.
yeah, it was really exciting.
Yeah.
Turo was a huge thing for me. And I'm like, I can rent a Porsche for $150 a day. It's amazing. Anyhow, fast forward to, I started renting quite a bit, became friends with a lot of the owners. I became a long-term renter, like a month at a time, and trying to decide box or convertible, 911, like the whole thing. For 3 years, didn't own a Por-sha. And what happened is I was on a gig, and there was a 5-hour break, and I had the convertible 718 Boxer GTS 2021.
Very nice.
Very nice, fun car. I mean, that car was an extension of me. Everyone's like, this car is you. I'm like, I know. Named her Stella, of course. All my renter, I had Esmeralda, I had Stella, you know. So it was a big break, and I had a friend. She goes, hey, I go, do you want to go to PCH? Let's go cruise, right? So you know that term, going racing in Mexico? You guys know that term? So
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I
at all.
have no idea. Yeah. So a couple guys are in a Porsche. We pull a red light, and he's egging me on. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. It's on Olympic Boulevard in Mexico. And we did it. And I won. And the guy was like, what? He didn't think I'd go for it. And I did. And it was really fun. And then we came back. And then she went and told the producers, who I had no idea. And she was all excited, had the best time. So I love sharing the love, right?
Right.
And then this is when it flipped for me, is that I got approached by the producers who I didn't know worked for Motor Trend at the time, and Hoonigans and Top Gear. I didn't know they were in the car business. We'd never discussed this. But because I brought the Porsche to the job and had fun and sharing the wealth, they approached me about developing a car show.
Nice.
So now I'm trying to still incorporate what I'm doing for my income to maintain my hobbies, and then trying to make that into a job where I can earn money from it, because it's so freaking fun and contagious.
When you can blend that all together,
yes.
What more do you need in life, right?
This is exactly what I'm saying. So I'm currently in development for a really cool show idea that we're pitching, and we're making the sizzle reel, and we're shooting. We all work full time, right? As you guys know.
Oh, yeah, we know.
So you, when you're sleeping, you're trying to figure out how you're going to do this, but it's a slow progress. But so that made the switch. Was, someone said, hey, I heard you know how to drive, okay, cool, So I've been taking lessons and at Por-sha Experience Center and stuff like that.
Nice.
So,
How about you, Denise?
That's awesome.
Oh, well, so I guess I would relate a lot to you as both. I grew up loving cars, and once I actually started working on cars and feeling that appreciation for feeling the improvement of the car after you fix something, that was it felt like a drug almost. And once I had gotten my first job as a lube tech and then eventually a service advisor at Jiffy Lube, that was my very first job, very first automotive job, I should say. And it literally made me second guess getting a college degree, even though I was in my last semester.
Oh, wow.
And you just finish the last semester, that's it, and you're done. And but I knew automotive was my future, 100%. So I ended up continuing on my automotive career. I've been working in automotive for almost 10 years now, going through and working at a Big O Tires, an independent shop, body and restoration shop, automotive customization with Coastline Motorsport, that Jiffy Lube, of course. And I had developed a wealth of knowledge not only working on several cars, but understanding the different types of services that are done to cars, how those service drives work. And then I went into the automotive software space for transitioning these service drives from using pen and paper inspections to digital forms that get communicated to you through your phone or through email.
Great. No easy feat.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to see what's going on with your car as opposed to listening to somebody on the phone, not knowing if they're being 100% honest, which I very much am against the stereotype, because I was always the person who enjoyed educating somebody and helping them understand their vehicles more. So that way, when something did come up, they had the confidence to know what to do. That was something that I was very, very close to me.
You're empowering so many people by sharing that information.
Yeah, exactly. Huge. Yes. That was always my goal, because I've been there where when I bought my Kona, my 2000 Ford Focus, I didn't even know how to change oil when I bought that thing. I learned everything I know about cars pretty much because of that car. And I wanted to share that appreciation and how easy it is for me to kind of dial back the type of descriptions on what's going on with the car from all the mechanic speak to something that I could tell your grandmother and she would understand. That was always my goal.
That's awesome.
So I'm still working in automotive today in a software space for dealerships right now. So I actually go on site and travel and work with service managers, service advisors, technicians on adopting that digital type program. And we're trying to work with academic institutions to get that type of program into their curriculum, because there's a lot of online classes now. But what about automotive? What can we do to help prepare the technicians for the type of technology that they're going to be experiencing when they go work in the field? So that's where.
So was
where
the
I'm at
switch Victorville? Was that the switch? Was
now. The switch for me.
Obviously, it was evolution for you.
Yeah.
but-
So the switch for me was before that. It was probably once I. The switch for me was actually when I was a part of a car club right out of getting out of high school. I was the only girl. And you can only imagine the type of drama that would happen when you have a group of young guys with one girl and the amount of rumors and BS that would come from that.
Sure.
So they had come to my work. I remember I was working at Hollister, a part-time job. Goodness gracious, a long time ago. And they had actually taken a razor blade and taken off my sticker from my windshield, my club sticker, and they came into my work and they said, "We're kicking you out." And that was my motivation of like, I don't need them. Why the hell do I need them?
Sure.
I'm going to go ahead and work on my own car. And I ended up doing so, and they ended up becoming more, I guess you could say they were a little bit jealous because I got coilovers. I started doing all these modifications, and they hadn't even gotten to that point yet of doing that.
Yeah.
So they became envious, and I loved that. And that just drove me more. Oh, let me work on stuff for my mom's car so she doesn't have to pay for maintenance. Oh, let me help out my friend who doesn't understand cars. And that's where it kind of built up to being an advisor at Jiffy Lube and then loving that automotive education type space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, that happens because I was in the car clubs, 2 or 3 of them, and it was the same thing for
The
even with Justified
drama,
guys.
it's
Especially
crazy.
if you're like independent and driven,
Yeah.
it's very intimidating and threatening to the guys that are not.
Interesting.
You know, so I actually have a very similar story as yours. You know, not where they peeled out the sticker, but where I had to get talked to. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
What?
why?
You get talked to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About what?
Exactly.
Unnecessary drama.
I'm like, am I in trouble? What is
Dude,
Yeah.
it's a club.
Exactly. So it actually,
Rules.
when
What
I,
rules?
yeah, and especially in racing too, because everything is about winning, right?
Yeah.
So you get in the club thinking that if I'm with the club, we'll be fast together, but then you start competing with your own guys, and they start getting butthurt or
Oh,
whatever, and you're just like,
gosh.
I'm out of here. And that's what got me to start my first race shop back in a long time ago. You know, so I mean, I could totally relate to that. So,
And I think that happens in a lot of industries, to be
Absolutely.
perfectly
Yeah.
honest. When you're so
Absolutely.
passionate and you are just kind of ramping up
Yeah.
faster than other people, people notice
Yeah.
and don't always
how about you,
like it.
Christina?
Yeah, I've been around cars like a lot of my life. So I would say it's probably both because I've been around cars a lot. I mean, I think I had mentioned when I went to your show at the History Museum.
Oh, the Hot Rod Legends.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was so nostalgic for me because my grandpa and my uncle used to do the Bonneville Salt Flat races. So hearing their stories was just epic. So I've kind of been around all that stuff, but I never really came into my own until my divorce, to be honest with you, because
Is that the switch?
that was the switch.
Is that your Victorville?
That's my Victorville. Yes.
What's everybody's
felt like-
Victorville?
I felt like I was able to just kind of be my own person and find, because when you're married, you do a lot of stuff together and you go to events together, you race together, you do things together, but you don't ever have your own like identity away from someone. And so, yeah, and being able to just be on my own and start doing things for myself and making my own decisions about my cars and doing my own work on my cars really got me so much more into it and excited about it every day. And just like cars are pretty much life now, especially because my kids are older now too. So I don't have to worry about like raising my little kids anymore. So
But did the divorce spark the brand and the company that you started?
Well,
or
so
did you already have that before?
Miss Motorhead, I started right before my divorce. And so, but because of my divorce, it had to go on hold. And that was like a 2-year process. So there was a lot of just unknown stuff for a couple of years, but now that it's all finally done and over with, like now I have Miss Motorhead, now I have the speed dating thing, I have all these things that are just so fun and exciting. I still want to write the children's book. Like
That'd be awesome.
I have all these things that I want to do, and I have the time to do it now because it's just me, pretty much. I mean, my kids are college now, so it's like that was the switch for me. It definitely was that.
Beth?
So
You know, I think for me personally, it's still evolving. I have a lot of different kind of mile markers, if you will. You know, as a young girl, and when my grandparents would come to town, and my grandfather, who started this museum west of Tulsa, which is not really a museum, but and he would constantly talk about cars. I mean, that was all he really could talk about.
Yeah.
And so part of that was really fascinating, and a lot of it was really boring. for me, to be perfectly honest, because he's talking about car parts and this did, and I didn't understand. I didn't know. And then you kind of launch forward when I was able to drive and had my Bug. I had a 66 Bug, which I still want to cry because I sold it. I still have a visceral reaction when I think about that.
That's how you know you're a car person.
Yes,
I think we all have
I
that
love
with our
that car.
first
It
cars.
is stamped in my heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and you know, and something going wrong and being stuck on the freeway and going to work in a skirt and having to climb a chain link fence in a skirt to go, because we didn't have cell phones at the time. I mean, little things where I'm like, God, I wish I knew how to fix that. I wish I had known what was wrong with that at the time. And then fast forward to CJ, you know, when we first met, and you were making me dinner at your apartment and you had
It was a Lambo.
framed. Oh, okay. I was going to say a Corvette on his wall. And I'm like, this is kind of nerdy. Like, he had a bunch of cars framed
Take
all
down
over
the
his.
photos of all the cars.
But that was.
Oh,
but,
we're
your
breaking up.
Your speed dating people should take notes here.
Right? Yeah.
but this is who you are. This
Yeah.
is who you were. And I think that really came out over the years as we were married. And then when we had our first daughter, I was on maternity and I was doing documentaries, writing, shooting, and with a crew from scratch, you know. And so here I had this newborn and I'm breastfeeding and I'm doing all this stuff and writing and at the computer all the time. Well, they took me off of that and they put me on a car show.
Really?
I didn't know a thing about cars. I forgot to tell you this. I didn't know a thing about
I
cars.
didn't know that.
And I
didn't
had
know
to,
that.
I had to produce this with a guy named Mark Salem in Phoenix and this other sweet guy, Chip, wasn't Chip Foods, Chip something. And I thought, okay, how do I make this interesting for people like
Right.
myself
Yes.
who
Right.
really don't know anything about cars? And so we had kind of little vignettes and different segments to it. And it was fun. We had a
And
really
they were
good time. They were great.
Yeah, she
They were,
did a great
they-
job producing, and they were great on camera.
They were
That's
great
It was
guys.
really interesting.
Yeah.
How
They were
many
really
shows have we
fun.
done? And this is the first
I
time you're
know.
telling me this on air?
What's the
Hey.
name of the show? So
It was kind of a car talk, Salem
Okay.
car talk, I think. I'm forgetting.
Please tell
to
me
be
there's
honest.
those beta cam tapes of this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm,
There
I'm sure
probably
we
are.
have
We
some.
got to get
There's
a hold of
probably
that.
some blackmail material
Yeah.
there. Yeah, but I
Yeah,
was
buddy.
totally behind the scenes.
Hey,
But
real quick
produced
though,
it.
what did he cook for you when he came over to the apartment?
So he made some sort of a chicken dish.
Some sort of.
A chicken dish.
It wasn't real
vegetables.
memorable, evidently.
No, but what was
Must not
memorable?
have been.
What was memorable is
Oh,
he was
shit.
making
She's going to tell this story.
It was
There we
so
go.
sweet. There are two chicken dish stories really quickly. So this one he's making, and it smelled so good. And I went in the kitchen, and he had the recipe in his pocket. And he kept and he put it in there, and he would do something, and then he would take it.
Wow.
It was really
He
sweet.
had crib notes.
And the
But
second,
it tasted
are you blushing?
so good.
it was so
I think
sweet.
he's
The
blushing.
second
I think he's
time,
blushing.
No,
the
this is
second
what this is
time-
why I'm blushing is because of this one.
the second time, I think it was after Katie was born, and I was really sick, and so he made me this chicken dish, and I thought, this tastes different. What did you do? And he said, well, I marinated it in vanilla extract because
Vanilla.
extract is so good in cookies. I figured it'd be really good.
Oh my goodness.
So he learned about cooking from me a little bit. I learned about
Wow.
cars
And I've
from
gotten
him.
better. I did cook chicken last week, and actually it tasted really good. Didn't it?
Vanilla extract.
That's kind of like
wow.
putting diesel in your gas car.
Oh my gosh.
That's like the equivalent.
I hadn't thought
Vanilla
about that.
chicken bake.
but,
All
yeah.
right.
It was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
All the love
she's still
behind it
married.
was sweet. Yeah.
She's still married.
and
to
I'm
me.
still married to you.
Did
Yeah,
you eat the
so-
chicken?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'll say, okay, that's love right there.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have eaten
Did it
that.
have a sear or something to at least give crust and flavor?
I think it was very almost poached. You know, I mean, it was
Oh, no.
Wow.
You are so
I don't
kind.
even remember what it looked like, but
Tells you how memorable
Yeah.
it was.
Hey, A+ for creativity.
There you go.
Right?
That's right. That's
Creativity.
right.
that's it.
I'm gonna
Effort.
go into a gray area with you ladies.
Let's go for it.
So over the years, something that I've noticed, and I know the gentlemen have noticed, women who really sexualize themselves when it comes to cars. And I'm curious, what's that about? Is that about a woman saying, this is me, and this is my trajectory, and this is how I get there, and this is all my decision? Does this make sense that I'm going there with this?
Yes, it does. And I can elaborate on a couple of different points with that because part of it is absolutely the car culture in America and the way that we have sexualized women in terms of being models and the skimpy clothing and everything like that. So that is an image of American car culture. And it is unfortunate because I don't believe that women should, if they want to wear that to empower themselves and they feel confident and beautiful, 100% go for it. And that's where the difference lies with me is, yes, and I don't believe that everybody should do this. And sometimes it's subconscious where that's what you want to do to try to get to the next level or to put yourself out there more. And you don't have to do that. You don't, unless you really feel like this is who I am and I don't mind showing the world the body I have and it gives me the self-confidence. That's that dividing line for me. And I really, because I do also model. I started modeling back in 2011. And I've worked with a wide variety of photographers and everything. It's not about what you wear. It's about the confidence that you radiate.
100%.
Yes.
And how beautiful and
100%.
comfortable and confident you are in your skin.
It's true because I've told her when she's done photo shoots with cars, she's wearing these beautiful outfits. You're gorgeous. But my favorite pictures every single time she takes pictures are the ones where she's being like super smiley and goofy because like I know her and I love her for how she is and that you just radiate like this like
To match her
special-
personality better?
Yes.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, although she takes amazing pictures, my favorite ones are always the ones where it's like you like
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's because you're excited to be around the cars and like, oh my gosh, like you can't help but radiate that when you're a car
Yeah,
chick.
that happiness.
And your
Absolutely.
happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when it's a form of expression, when you do enough photo shoots where you can become creative with with the
Yes.
makeup on your face, the outfits, and the whole ambiance. Well, also being a photographer, you think about photo shoots and sets all the time. The coloring, the lighting, what's in the background. You think about all of that to create a scene to be able to express yourself creatively, and that's just another form of creativity is being able to model and pose with certain subjects and with that outfit of choice.
We're telling a story.
So you had mentioned empowerment, right? Is there a thin or thick line between empowerment and exploitation when it comes to this with the modeling and the cars and stuff like that?
Sure. I'm not going to be somebody that says I am against people who have OnlyFans. Because there are some people that rely on that 100% for their income. And obviously there is an audience for that. That's one of the reasons why they get into it, because there is an audience. As much as people can, pardon my French, talk shit about, OnlyFans girls, I am not one. But I'm not going to stop somebody if that is what they do and they love that and that is their form of expression, 100%, like go for it. But I think it's more of a thicker line on the mentality, the subconscious mentality of how you are handling all of that. Is it you wanting to just get yourself out there because you feel like that's what you need to feel like you're worth something? That's not right.
Correct.
You should always
it
have
is.
full body value in yourself, self-worth.
It's a thin line. And I say this because I did a photo shoot with Denise, and it was my first photo shoot where I was in a dress because I don't take photos like with my car. I don't typically like to do that. I'm just not comfortable with it. Some people are, some people aren't. But she did a photo shoot for me, and she made me feel so comfortable in my own skin. And so I was just being my own goofy self. And the pictures came out amazing because I was just being goofy and silly.
You were also
And-
gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Hello.
But it took
Some of those
me
photos.
a long time to post them because I didn't want to portray something. I didn't want people, because I do worry about what people think about me. And I don't want people to think like, oh, she's trying to do this or she's trying to. But eventually I got to a place where I was like, you know what? I just don't care. I know how I felt in the moment, and that's all that matters. So I posted my photos, and she's an amazing photographer.
No, what kind of reaction did you get once you posted them?
Really
Was
good
it- was it
reaction,
really-
actually.
okay.
It was
Alright.
really good. It was
It's always classy.
yeah,
Always
it
go for the
was-
classy
It was
shots.
good. I had a lot of people were like, "How come you don't post more photos like that?" And I'm like, I just don't. I'm not completely comfortable with it, but I do once in a while, and it's okay. I mean, there's girls who are and there's girls who aren't, and I'm just kind of in the middle somewhere.
And does standing next to a car, a beautiful car, make you feel more beautiful and more confident?
Empowered.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Sure.
Yeah, empowered,
No matter
for
what
sure,
the
yeah.
car. If
Yeah.
you're connected to the car
Yes.
or you have a predilection for the car, the empowerment is so hot. It's there.
The chemistry also between the photographer and the subject is also
Yes.
very important because you want that person to feel as confident as possible. And when you understand, the years of my modeling have helped me with being able to pose all different types of body types in several different types of situations. So I can work with models of all shapes and sizes. I've also done photo shoots for guys as well, and being able to help them feel more confident in the way that they carry their shoulders and what have you. It's all about the natural movement, and that's what Christina and I did. So she wasn't talking so much about her gorgeous shots, but there were some shots where really, you're stunning. You are stunning. And it really is about that connection. When you feel that confident that the person is allowing you and showing you how you can be your natural self without doing these forced poses, everything comes off so much more natural.
And I think this is something we see more with women, static shots next to cars, whereas it's with the men are moving.
Yes.
You don't really see men as much posing next to a car.
I don't want to see a dude next to a car.
Well, so, one thing that did come up, and this is somewhat related to that, is when I was winning, when we have a big car show, for instance, I have this car show I usually would do every year called Subi Fest. It has like 7,000 people. People would win awards and they would go up to get their award, and there'd be these dressed in bikinis taking the photos with the people who won the awards. So for like the last few years, I'm like, well, that's not fair. Where's the guys? I want some hot guy models coming up with me.
Where's
while
our
I take
pool boy?
That's
Yes,
actually
our
a
pool
good
boy.
point.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
so there's this thing where I feel like we need to start getting more comfortable with, like, even just having, like, I've even asked a couple guys, will you take a photo with my car? Because I want like a hot guy in front of my car.
Yeah.
Like, there's this standard, I think, and I'm trying to like get away from that. I even
It's the
had
equality.
Yes. I had a couple of guy friends who were like, let's do a car wash photo shoot. We'll put some guys in Daisy Dukes
Yes.
and have them out there washing the girls' cars.
I'll shoot that.
So, yeah.
I will 100% shoot that.
So
I
I
will
think
not.
It's okay. I'll record it for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eye candy in all forms, right?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is I think we're starting to it's finally, I think things are finally flipping a little bit where people are seeing it in a different light now because there's a lot more women winning car shows now. There's a lot more women racing and winning races.
We kind of talked about this the first time you came on the show about the expectations, the preconceived expectations of women being into cars. You know, there's like negative connotations, with that or whatever. But the question I always like to ask is, why does anybody have to be in the picture with the car? Isn't it about the car? Now, if it's a story about the car and its owner, I get that.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Right.
a lot, especially at Subi Fest or any of these shows, they bring in these girls who probably don't even care. They're just being hired models, right?
You're right.
Why do they need to be there, guy or girl?
Right.
If it's about the car, why aren't you just taking a picture of the car? That's one thing I never really understood. I know it's part of culture, which I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm not against it
agree
per
with
se.
you.
I'm not a priss here, but at the same time, I'm like, if it's about the car, like I've never had a picture of my car taken with anybody in front of it. I refused. And then a couple times where like the model would come by and they want to take a picture of him, I was like, no, because one, if you sit on my car, I'm gonna be pissed.
Right.
Because they don't know where to sit. I don't know what's on their outfit or whatever, sequins or whatever.
Yes,
so I was like,
yeah.
I just say no. So I become that guy that's like, oh man, why are you so uptight? I'm like, I'm not uptight. If you like my car, cool, but I don't care. And plus, my wife wouldn't appreciate that.
Yeah, that's right.
I think maybe one complements the other. I mean, I am hard pressed to go back and find photos of my grandmother who is not standing in front of a car or next to an airplane. My grandfather constantly photographed her next to something.
Posing next to something.
Yes.
I think the one of the lines that draws with that is the model the subject or the accent to the car? And that's one thing I really try to touch on when working with models in cars. First of all, I always ask, where are the okay places to touch? Are you comfortable with this? Always asking permission. Can I position myself this way? Are you okay positioning yourself this way? And just getting that relief of, okay, this person does care about my car. They're just not going to plant their butt straight on my hood. They're asking permission and asking me, what are the best places I can sit that you are giving me permission? And you work around that. But I agree in terms of there are there's definitely times when I want to see the car and the person is covering the headlights or the main focus point, the engine bay. I want to see the engine, like what's in there.
Yeah.
And so I understand both sides of it 100%.
One thing we haven't really heard, we haven't heard from Dan. I know you've got questions
Dan's
for these
scared.
gals.
Oh, he's got comments
Dan doesn't
too,
want
I
to
know
get
it.
flamed in the comments.
It's standard. There's a technical issue, and he's working on it.
Yes. A couple
excuses.
things. Yeah, right. A couple things. First of all, I think you having a Focus RS.
It's a 2000 Ford Focus ZX3. It's a Kona edition though, so it came with a Kona mountain bike, bike tread, side trim, and all that.
Do you still have the bike?
Oh yeah, I have 2 of them.
Nice.
Whoa, very cool. Well, I just, through my Top Gear education, I just know that the Focus was really big worldwide. And in the U.S.,
Yes.
not so much.
That's
they
right.
don't sell it here. So
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that you have one and that's hot and you have Cosworth
Yeah.
Cosworth parts engine in it and stuff. That's
Her
super
car gets
cool.
a lot of attention at shows, to
Oh,
be
I'm
honest
sure.
with you.
Still weird for me.
At Fuel Fest, her car was parked kind of on an entrance, and I stood by your car while you were walking around, and I was there for maybe 20 minutes, and I could not believe how many people came up to your car, took
So wild
pictures,
to me.
were just fascinated by it. I thought it was great.
Well,
'cause-
seeing like a Focus RS in the United States is like a big deal. Like they didn't sell very many of them here to
Well,
begin with.
yeah.
Yeah,
And-
the Focus is they're just not as appreciated in America.
Yeah.
And that 2000 ZX3, I mean, that's a WRC car. That chassis won 44 WRC championships,
Yeah.
by the way. So it's one of the winningest chassis in WRC, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And that appreciation for WRC did not really land too much in the U.S. versus around the world.
It's an outlier in the U.S.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
we all car guys I know love rally, but not like in Europe, not like in
Oh,
Asia.
Right.
fanatics
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
100%.
And I guess that's part of the culture too. I mean,
Yeah.
Americans didn't grow up with that stuff. Not a lot of
Right.
rally circuits in America.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's not going through your village and stuff
but
like
you
over there.
bring up an interesting point. If you're at a show or if you're at a Cars and Coffee or if you're just driving on the street, right, and someone sees your car and they're like, yeah, but then they don't know who the driver is. And then they discover you're a woman. What kind of reactions have you guys got, positive and negative, like being women owners of these cars? You're getting props for your car, which you're like, heck yeah. And they see you as a woman. Do you feel like there's a positive or negative like bias to the reactions that you guys get?
Always positive.
Yeah.
Always.
Great.
I mean, also, it goes back to what you guys said. It's the confidence. You're like, yes, I'm driving my car, no matter what it is. Like, this is my car. It's an extension of me. And the person can vibe that. They can sense it, But I will say, I got a lot more kudos when I was in a convertible and going fast. I had so many guys that wanted to race me all the time or driving a friend's Mustang. They're like, "Rah, rah, rah," and I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'm so confident. I'm like, I'll blow you away. You know what I mean? It's like,
Did anyone try to holler at you and get your number after they lost?
nah.
I mean, that's kind of defeats. Like, I guess I
Nah.
can't.
He's like, I'm going home. I'm going home.
If they won, would you have given them some?
Nah, probably not. Probably not.
This is-
Giving them some.
This is information
Okay.
for your
Yeah,
dating.
I need to get you on my spreadsheet.
Yes.
Assuming you're single.
Yes, yes, totally.
Okay, good.
But then, too, like I did the same thing. Like I'll see guys in cars and I'll be like, dude, your car's amazing. Like, tell me about it. And they're
Right.
like, oh, you get it. And I can talk a little bit of language, not like you two, but I'm like, when I saw 240ZX, which was my very first car, saw 240ZX and this kid had it in Malibu, and I'm like, you got some racing seats in there, and you got what are you doing in here? And then we met up, and then I sent you a video of it, and we raced, and he blew me away, and I was like, dude, and I was like, that was sick, and he just like. It was so cool. And then we went up to Canyon together and parted our ways. And now we're friends on Insta. So,
Nice.
And that's what it's about. The people you meet. It
Yes.
really is
Yes.
incredible.
Have you been to
Yes.
the Good Vibes Breakfast Club? Yeah.
No,
You need to do that because there's a lot of Porsche
I was going to say Porsche drivers up
enthusiasts
there.
there.
Yeah.
And Melissa, you need to meet Melissa.
Oh, yes,
'cause-
please, yes.
Yeah.
Oh God, 3
Her and
gingers in
Melissa
one
would hit
room.
it
Her
off.
and Melissa.
Oh,
yes.
God, another ginger.
Yes,
I love
another
it.
ginger, and she's amazing too. All my
it.
ginger friends are awesome. My goodness,
Yeah.
spicy.
I'm currently in the market I want a second car, but I don't know if I want to get a track car or if I want to get a convertible. Like I'm just all over the place. I'm everywhere. I'm at bring a trailer. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like,
You're
look at the
a
auctions.
true car girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm all over the place. I want this, I want that, and then tomorrow it's going to be something different. And
I mean, have y'all ever written down, like, if God came down and said, how many cars do you want? What cars do you want? Have you ever made the list
Manifest,
of like what
yeah.
cars? Have y'all ever done
not
that?
in writing.
That's a long list.
It's in my head.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I always said, like, I would need a
Yeah.
17-car garage.
Yeah.
Yes. Give me a warehouse with a
van.
little loft on top. That's
Yeah.
all I need. A
Totally.
warehouse with a loft.
Exactly.
That's
I
it.
think that's what I like
Exactly.
about Beth, because I noticed that Beth, she talks about certain cars like your VW or that you miss,
And my grandmother's
and your
car.
grandmother's car.
The Corvair.
But,
yeah.
Corvairs.
but when Beth likes something, she makes it very clear it's that, at least for that moment, right? And when
No,
we
it's-
went to the Death Valley wagon tour, she saw a beautiful green W123 wagon that was, I mean, it was a good choice. It was my favorite one of the day. And she was like, that's the one I want.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? And
Beth
she's
was
like,
gaga
I
for
can
that
see myself
wagon.
in
Good
one of these.
taste.
And I just want somebody to let me drive one or
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, that to me solidified that you are a car person. I knew you were before, but that really
And I am, and I know what I like. I really, really do.
Which-
And I'll be perfectly honest, maybe I'm not at a place in my life where I can really have what exactly I want because we have other priorities in life.
That's right.
But I have a lot of
Yes,
things that I want
yes,
and that I
that's right.
have, and I love
New
I love-
microwave?
Yeah.
Oh,
You can wash
is that
and
what you
dryer.
meant? Oh, I
I
don't know.
love the Corvair. I love driving CJ's Porsche. It's beautiful. It feels
So
like a
fun.
kid. And I drove the van. I know your wife would never do this. I drove our Honda Odyssey down today with the back seats missing because we just moved our daughter into an apartment. And I'm like, this is not fun to drive. It really isn't.
I can get a 1970s one with the bubble in the back and
Oh,
Scooby Doo.
yeah.
I'm down for that.
And now your daughter likes to drive.
I
too.
know.
I met her for the first
Yes.
time,
And that-
she is awesome, just like you guys.
Thank you. That's so
cute.
sweet of you. Yeah, she loves her Subaru. It's really, and that was my grandfather's. He bought that when he was in his 90s.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The BRZ.
BRZ. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
BRZ.
I was telling her about when the next track day is. But what's funny is the next track day, which is this weekend, is actually Big Willow. So I don't advise her doing Big Willow for the first time as a first time track.
Her
track
car is
run.
actually in the shop because somebody backed
yes.
into her door.
Okay.
which is-
No.
But there is a track day. I think it's in August, and it's a night track day, which will be good because it's so hot right now, anyways.
yeah,
So,
right.
so it'd be cool. I say nighttime. It's afternoon, so she can get some afternoon runs, and then if she feels comfortable, she could run on the track at night, which is the coolest thing ever.
So is this open to the public?
Yeah.
And this is at Willow, you're saying?
This is at Willow Springs. It's Streets of Willow, which is the smaller track. And this one is put on by Extreme Speed, and it's a Subi Jam. It's a Subi Jam one. So
You
there's
do
a
have
lot of
to-
Subarus there.
You do have to register in advance, and
Yes.
they give you a tech sheet to fill out and everything. So
But if she can't get in for it, I can just bring her with me as my guest, and she'll
that's
be
really
fine.
great.
ride-alongs are
kind.
nice
Okay.
too.
Yeah, she can do
Right
it.
along.
Yes,
Hey,
absolutely.
where are the drag strips? I like drag
yeah,
racing.
that's what I grew up
That's my
doing. is
passion.
drag racing. Yes,
Brenda.
I love drag racing.
I'm like,
You're my
give me
favorite.
that quarter mile. I just
Yes.
want to go
So-
as fast as I can, as hard as I
Straight
can.
and fast.
Even
okay.
though- Yes.
even though they're dying, especially in the state,
Why?
well, it's California.
Yeah.
Number one.
Well,
They
it's
hate
not
cars.
even
California
it's not
hates
even just
cars.
California.
Do I-
There's
Yeah,
tracks
no.
closing all over.
Do,
the
do I
place.
have to have a talk with Governor Newsom when
Yes.
he comes on our show?
Yes, actually.
Because I
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about
Yes.
talk cars with
Yes.
him all the time.
Yes. So yes, absolutely.
Do it.
But we still have some really good ones left. Famoso in Bakersfield.
Yep.
Irwindale, which is the 8th mile.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
Fontana, R.I.P. That went down this year.
Yeah.
It went down this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
it's
tore down
closed. They
the
closed it.
track,
Yeah.
the drag strip.
Come
yeah.
on.
Yeah,
so we've
it's
got
unfortunate.
Irwindale and
Famoso in Bakersfield.
And Pomona.
And Pomona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pomona doesn't open itself up like the other tracks do.
yeah,
But
Famosa does.
bang for
so
buck, Famoso is the one to go
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Really?
In my opinion. One, because
Yeah.
it's a very nice track. It's in the middle of nowhere. And you get a ton of fast cars. And shout out to Red List Group because they do an amazing event. Anybody can show up and race in their event. It's cheap and it's a good time. And
where was that located?
in Bakersfield.
Bakersfield.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bakersfield.
Yeah.
That's not
Just
Yeah.
a little bit north of Bakersfield, just a touch, but yeah.
And actually, Streets of Willow Springs will open up I think it's they do
think
like
I-
streets.
I saw that once.
Yeah.
They'll do like the $40 you go and you
Yeah,
can race.
and it's like it's
Christmas.
like run what you brung kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's
And,
run
you
what you
know,
brung. I love that.
It's limited on speed. You can't bring your
Parachute.
full pro mod
Yeah.
dragster out there.
Right.
But like I said, Famoso and Irwindale are probably the best places to go. I don't know if Carlsbad's still open, but Carlsbad was a pretty janky track back in the day. But and then we had LACR back in the day in Palmdale.
Yeah, that was my
Rest
home.
in peace. Yeah,
that
me
was
too.
my home.
Is it a drag strip?
It was
It
a
was
drag
a
strip.
drag
Yeah. It was a very
strip.
famous
Palmdale.
drag strip.
Yeah.
Well, there was a drag strip in Santa Maria. That's where I grew
Yes.
up.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
But there was a drag strip there, and my dad took me there from like, I don't know, 4 years old. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I was obsessed,
Right.
And then the Speedway, there was the NASCAR or whatever,
Yeah.
But the drag strip, man, that's where it's at
Yeah.
for me.
So yeah, and you're right, Denise. Across the country, drag strips are closing because developers are moving in, or it's not cost effective to run drag strip. But
Really?
Maybe
I'm hoping-
liability insurance.
It's
could be-
liability.
Insurance
I was
is
going to
Yeah.
say
Doing it.
insurance.
Yeah.
is-
Yeah.
That'd be a big part of it.
Insurance and then the noise complaints from the people
Oh,
who
sure.
are
Oh.
surprised
Yeah.
when they move next to
Right.
a racetrack
Yeah.
and there's volume that happens every so often.
That's been there for decades,
Yeah,
by the
literally,
way.
yeah.
It's like moving to
yes.
LAX and go, why are the planes so loud?
Oh,
I'm like,
Yeah.
no kidding.
I don't know
Nuts.
if you guys saw that. There was a big article in the LA Times a couple weeks ago that Willow's like history. Like
No,
Yeah,
it's not that it's history. So the
yeah.
family has
Yeah.
had their they had it up on the market for about a year prior to them making it more public. But
Yeah.
because it's been in the family and it is so historic to the state,
Yeah.
they are trying really hard to find the right person who's going to preserve what Willow
Yeah.
Springs
Yes,
is.
I did
Emma-
read that in the
Yeah.
article, but
Emma's
I'm
in for the
cynical, so
running
I was
for
just
that
kind of
one.
like,
Is it already
but-
a historic landmark or no?
I believe it is.
It should be. I mean,
yeah.
it's
I
the
think
thing that
it
brings
is.
income into that area. Now, other than the farming, of course, but
There's so much history that's happened there.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it wasn't a historic landmark.
Yeah, I hope they preserve it and it flourishes. It's a
think
great
you-
track. I've been out there. It's a great
It's
track.
beautiful.
It's
I mean,
really-
it's beautiful for what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ugly desert, but
It's
that's where you
beautiful
put
for
race
people.
tracks.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't know her last name. You guys might. I forget the famous girl Emma who came from nothing and lost her dad and
Yes.
built a car. She's
She's trying to get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Donut
So-
Media is also trying to.
Donut is too.
Yep.
Oh wow.
So we'll see
I
what
want the
happens.
girl to get it.
Yeah. 100%.
And during I think 2021, they were trying to open up Terminal Island again in Long Beach, which was I raced
Really?
there a long time.
Wow.
when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah. That one's a tough one. I mean, you're dealing with the port and
Wow.
city of LA and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I was like, if they open that up, it would be great. But the only problem is that I feel like, and this is just my opinion, that the illegal activity, because they associate the streetcar takeover crap
Right.
with drag racing.
Right.
And even drifting, they
course they
associate
do,
it all
yes.
together.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely opposite ends of the
Yeah.
spectrum. for
100%.
sure. And we just get lumped into that because we like cars and they're doing
Right.
bad stuff with
Yep.
cars.
So they lump it in, yeah.
So, and that's a good way for them to get legislation to like ban all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that with that being, it's going to be really, really difficult for anybody to open up anything new or to preserve anything. That's a big problem.
You bring up a really good point because that was actually the takeover issue was the whole reason why I founded Maximum Velocity Apparel. It's all about positive car culture. So the first design we released was Enthusiasts Against Takeovers.
Awesome.
And it just straight up says Enthusiasts Against Takeovers with "It's Over" in red inside of the phrase itself.
Great.
And then we also have "Keep It on the Track." Don't go off and go crazy in intersections and everything. Keep the sanctioned events on the track, or in where you are having sanctioned events where you're permitted and insured and everything like that. Keep it in the safe spaces.
Yeah.
So we promote positive car culture, and whenever I go to an event, I'm wearing that Enthusiasts Against Takeover shirt, and I get people that stop me all the time. I hate those takeovers.
Oh, really?
Man, takeovers. I hear it all the time because it's destroying the traditional car culture.
Yeah, it's
is.
giving a bad rap. It's lumping it
Exactly.
in
I
with
just-
bad apple.
It's interesting
car
with the
enthusiasts.
legends we just had, the legends panel we did that Christina was at.
Yeah.
We had a bunch, just so you guys know, we had 11 guys who were mostly like in their 70s, 80s, and 90s.
I saw it. Yeah.
Who were literally, they're in this book, some of them. But they were talking about, up in Santa Barbara, the drag strip at the airport up there used to be. That's one of the first places for drag racing in California, I think, maybe in the United States. I don't know.
It was the first official sanctioned track.
And they were talking about how there were cops that would like help them come run the meets. It's like, get the kids off the street. So this is nothing new. This goes back to the genesis
there are
of
a lot of cops currently today that I know of that encourage that because they do want you off the street.
They love racing.
And
like, get
I
the
would
kids
be a
racing.
total hypocrite if I said street racing is bad since I grew up and got my first shop out of that stuff, But it wasn't when I found out about Terminal Island and Famoso and LACR. I became a fanatic to go race there because everything was focused on racing there. Because I mean, the worst thing to me about street racing is obviously the danger, but the worrying about are there any cops? When you go to the track. Tell me if I'm wrong. When you get up on the track, whether it be Willow Springs or whatever, you're like, I can go as fast as I want and not worry about getting a ticket. I just got to worry about not crashing. Right?
True. Your focus,
And if that happens, there's an ambulance nearby too.
And it's not only that, but it's also that's a safe place to push your car to the limit. You don't have to worry about gravel falling on the road in canyons or anything like that, which can greatly affect.
When you're at a racetrack, your head is completely in it. When you're on a street racing someone, you're racing, but you're thinking, is there a cop? Is there a person? Is there something in the road?
There's distractions.
It's really interesting because most people won't get this. We know you guys will, but you're actually the racetrack is the safest place.
It is
to race.
By far.
To have your car
by far.
Even just in traffic because you don't have a bunch of jackasses that don't know what they're doing or on their phones or whatever. It is a really safe place. Unless you've been there, it's hard to believe it. But once you're there, you're like, oh, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, which the Porsche I was renting long term, I was on my way to return it after a month of renting it because my Jeep was in the shop, and I was downtown LA, 51st and Grand, going onto the on ramp, 5 o'clock traffic. Major homeless camp. A lady was texting.
Oh no.
And I cleared the intersection. Not my car, my friend's car. And she pitted the Porsche. It spun it around twice, hit the embankment. I was in it. I almost had the top down, but I was like, no, I'll wait till I get back in the valley. And I just sat there and went, no way, that just happened.
Yeah.
What? She had no insurance.
Of course not. It's LA.
Her tags were expired. She had a restricted license.
Checking off the list here.
Yeah.
So I took a picture, did the whole thing. My insurance covered it, paid for it. And the owners of the car were really nice. They put me in another rental right away, but it broke the suspension in the back and the axle. She hit me so hard in the back. Not one single thing happened to me. Like no injury, no nothing. And she was going like about 35, but she was texting.
Yeah. Wow.
And just,
Jeez.
but here's the funny thing. 3 days before that, I purchased my Macan at the Porsche Santa Clarita dealership. And as the accident happened, my phone pinged and it was the salesman saying, okay, congratulations, you can pick up your car.
That's a heck of a text message.
No joke.
There's a universe at work for you.
Dude, it happened.
It's like, bingo.
It's exactly what happened. And I was like, it was crazy. And all the homeless came over. They're like, oh my gosh, he hit you. Are you okay? And, it got dark and it was a little sketch,
Yeah. Totally sketch.
Yeah.
Totally sketch. But what's really cool is sorry about that, CJ. One of the homeless guys comes over and he goes, hey, this is a really dangerous neighborhood and this car and you shouldn't be here. Can I stay with you until the tow truck gets here? I want to protect you. And I was like, yeah, of course,
Angel sent.
It was amazing. And then halfway through a half hour, he's like, am I making you uncomfortable? And I'm like, dude, no, what is your name? He goes, G. And I put my hand out, give me your hand. And he reached in the car and I shook his hand and I go like, oh, G. And he goes, no, like God. And I go, okay. I said, you're my God protecting my car. And he goes, I am. And he walked around my car, was praying over my car. And
nice.
I had my little, angel there until the tow truck got there, but like you said, distracted, boom. Yeah. And I was on my way to return the car.
Oh, that's too bad. Oh my
And I
gosh.
miss that car so much. I'd be driving that today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
this-
race trucks are where it's at.
Yeah.
It's full circle. This is what I'm
that's
saying.
exact-
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to
right,
say, our
yeah.
daughters were both dinged in recent months, and in each instance, the drivers did not have insurance. So this is
That's
a topic for
ridiculous.
another show.
Yeah, we could do
Yeah.
a whole
There's
show.
a
I mean, it's
on that.
correlation
amazing
to being
how many-
uninsured and not responsible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
amazing
I
how many
think so.
people are driving out there and don't have
Yes.
insurance.
And I went online recently and I was like, what are the penalties? Like, you can get your license revoked. She was, she was already restricted. So, and you can go to jail.
Yeah.
yeah.
On the one of the Eat Sleep Race podcasts, a recent one, Vic from Induction Performance was on there, and he was saying he owns Bradenton Motorsports Park in Florida, which is an amazing track, and he said something about how social media has kind of ruined all of that. What we're talking about, how it has affected, because now everybody is clout chasing, recording everything. I mean, back when we were racing at LA County Raceway, we didn't tell anybody how much horsepower we had. We didn't pop hoods. That was the whole thing. You're not, because you're trying to win the race. And that's,
It's like
Yeah.
secret.
Yeah.
So now everything is like, oh, what is how much horsepower your car has? I was like, I would never tell you in a million years how much horsepower it has.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, if you think about it, if the social media has affected, especially the streetcar takeover, because if they didn't post that stuff on social media,
True.
it wouldn't be popular. Because that's what
true.
everybody's doing.
That's
They're,
right.
they're
Right.
clout chasing. That's
Right.
all
Yeah.
they're doing.
Right.
There's no competition there.
Right.
Right. Or to make funny memes out of it or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, do you think that the social media aspect of this is really affecting the future of motorsports in general? Do you think that's would be the case?
It's also we also need it also to be able to tell those stories similar to the way that you guys are wanting to tell stories in formats that other generations are willing to accept. And that's
Great
the
point.
battle that you have to fight is at what point do we say, like, no, this is enough, the car community is done? There's no way we're done, because we love watching car shows. We
Sure.
love interacting with real people in the community
Yes.
who are all about uplifting the community in the right way.
I think real car people, they could show up and not even have their phones. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
I
would.
agree.
Sometimes I would most rather even put my phone away.
Yeah.
I want to hear
And,
the
and
stories.
absorb and
Yes.
engage, and I don't need to share.
Yeah.
I just
Right.
want to hang out.
This happens every time Christina comes to the Ventura Cars and Coffee, which I help run, and I'm supposed to, maybe take some pictures, maybe share on the social. And I've done nothing for 3 hours except for talk to Christina and all our friends.
Yes,
at
that's
the-
all we do.
No,
is
so
talk.
that's
I
the
can
best.
totally agree with
Yes.
confirm what
I
you're
always
saying.
say I'm
Yes.
gonna walk around and get photos of all the cool cars, and
never
then
do.
I get maybe one or two, and then I'm like, darn, I'm like, I only got like, what the heck? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I was talking to Gabe for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
Designate
man.
someone to be a designated driver.
That's
You're
right.
the designated shooter.
Yeah,
Right.
you do need to
Yeah.
have that.
Well, the good
Yeah.
thing about when you go to a car event like Ventura Cars and Coffee is there's always photographers there.
Ooh,
Yeah.
who could be there?
Yeah.
I wonder.
As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, that to me is the reason why the page or the event has grown, is because I stopped taking pictures because of the hate I was getting for people not taking pictures of cars or not being there. When everybody started taking pictures, photographers or whoever, and they would tag the page, I would always that's my thing. Is if you're there and you tag the account, we'll always repost it, because you're doing us a favor,
Yes.
and if we can help you grow your account
Yeah.
too, cool. And we're just sharing what's happening at the event, instead of it being like, oh, my car was featured. I'm like, dude, featured. It's not a magazine. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to let people know that we meet here. And,
If you want to be featured, come on west of Tulsa.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
oh,
CJ.
which is a good plug for.
Boom.
The plug for the. She's looking at me.
It's okay. It's
The
her first
plug
time.
for
It's her
the-
first time.
Well, Tipline. So we're talking
The
about.
tip- well, I was going to throw all that to you. I just want to ask one more question before we wrap up.
Okay.
Okay. Brenda Rippey.
Yes.
And Denise Farrar. And
Yes.
Christina Jimenez. Quickly. Your advice to a young teenager who's 15 and a half, holding her permit, and she's going to start driving. She's going to start driving. Quickly, what's your advice to her?
I would have to ask a million questions. Probably, you want to port, you want to race, you want to like,
Or just your wheels of wisdom, if I will. Your car culture, kind of a mantra to share with somebody at that age who's getting behind the wheel for the first time.
Like, don't text and drive.
I would be like this. Embrace the unknown. Become best friends with the unknown, where this will take you.
Ask questions.
I'm
Always ask questions.
I'm always like, and the unknown is your best friend, because if you don't resist the unknown, you'll be able to go wherever the doors open.
And I would say, and this is something that I tell my friends all the time, don't be afraid to research something. You know, if you want to empower yourself, I wonder how this works. So I wonder what that means. Look it up. We have all of technology at our fingertips. Don't be afraid to look it up and empower yourself. That's my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, I would probably have to say YouTube is your friend.
Yeah.
YouTube Academy, as Melissa calls it, because I can't tell you how many times I've learned something about my car just by watching a few videos. So I just think everybody's got to start somewhere, especially our kids. So just don't be afraid to research, like Denise said. You can learn a lot.
Okay.
So.
And lift others up too. You know, everybody started somewhere. I was at a point in my life where I didn't even know how to do an oil change. And there's people who ask questions. And it does bother me on social media when you see these well-established, bigger car groups that are ripping on people who are just starting to get into it and are asking. It's very frustrating because everybody was there at one point.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
we talked
right.
about that with Melissa when she came on the show.
Yeah.
And that's why I love what she's doing, because she's empowering not just women, but men too.
Yes.
Right.
Who might be afraid because of that kind of thing where like, oh, you don't know how to change your oil or gap your spark plugs or swap a motor. I'm like, no, I don't, or whatever. It's okay if you don't.
Right.
But I want to learn. You
There
have
you
somebody
go.
that's wanting to learn.
There you go.
Yes.
Teach them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
You know?
right.
Exactly.
Enjoy the ride.
Absolutely.
I'm going to toss it back over to the driver's seat, CJ.
To me?
Yep.
Well, the question we're
you're
going to have is... So that's the abuse you take when you're not the husband.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Now you know it's like to be us.
Like when I'm
man.
sitting on the edge of the world over here.
Yeah.
No, so the tip line, right? We were talking about having people contact us at the
Yes.
tip line. But is it still the tip line? Have we decided? Have
Until
we
we come up with a good name for it. Well, let's ask the ladies.
What is the
Yeah.
tip line?
See, okay, this is a perfect
There we go.
segue for
There
the
we
What
go.
is the tip line?
CJ, you want to
So
explain?
the tip line is if you have a great story and you want to appear on the show or just be on the show, tell your story, reach out to us.
or have your story shared.
Have your story
You know,
shared.
some people may not be able to come on the show.
Yeah. Go to the westofTulsa.com and click on the tip line page, fill it out, and send it in. And people have done that. We actually
We've
had a guy
had
from
people on the show.
Oregon
Yeah.
and
As
New
much as we-
Hampshire and
As much as we promote it, people are not really using it. We have some people using it.
Okay.
We still
And it
get-
works.
Yeah, and it works. And you know, but we were thinking on our last show, maybe we should call it something else because the tip line might be a little bit misleading.
Yeah, I would. What you just said, I'm like, that doesn't sound like a tip line to
yeah.
me.
So we've been talking about changing it to. I think the best one so far, Dan, you came up with it.
Storyline.
Storyline.
Storyline. I was just
Storyline.
going to say storyline is
yeah.
where it's at.
So that's
Great
what we
minds
made
think
it.
alike, Brent.
Share your story. Yes,
I like that.
Dan. Storyline.
So for
We welcome any suggestions.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
But for
so.
today's purposes, since we've all agreed that storyline is better than tip line,
Yeah, I like that.
contact us on our storyline.
Or a tip line. You could say tip line. Give us a tip on what you want to hear.
That's kind of, we kind of talked about
Yeah,
that.
like-
Too. If you have a a topic to discuss,
like give us a tip for your topic.
I mean, I don't care what we call it as long as people use it. I mean, you can call it like CJ's secret chest.
Yes,
You know, something for you to be like, just type something.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: at the end of the day, we're working on something right now where people can share their stories and keep it forever, and it'll live. I wouldn't call it like a Facebook or anything like that, but it's a way to capture your story with your car. On our tool that we're creating right now, and this is the tip line's part of it because if we don't hear your story, we're never going to be able to tell it. And we try to. I mean, we've heard it many times. I think even when Denise first reached out a few months ago about wanting, throwing her. I think you said like,
I threw my hat in the ring.
Hat in the ring. I could tell that you were telling your story, but we weren't sure like if this is something that we would be interested in. I was like, no, we're interested in it. Everybody's story is interesting. If it's interesting to you, it's got to be interesting to somebody else.
100%.
And there's so many people in so many different walks of life and in parts of their life related to cars that guaranteed. And every time Dan and I think that, oh, this story's lame, it's like the best story ever.
Yeah, we don't know anything.
So we don't even say that anymore. It's like we want to hear every story.
Yeah.
So
I
throw
have
it out.
a tip line suggestion. I would like to watch you guys get interviewed. I want to know more about you guys.
We've done
I
shows
don't
that
think
are
that
kind of
counts
like
because
that.
you have to go to the website and fill out the form.
like I don't really know. Like I know you, but like we literally just met. I don't know a lot about Gabe and Helm. I don't know a lot about
Well,
Helm
no, because he never
and-
shows up.
Helm is
That's-
and
mysterious.
Dan
Very
and Dan
mysterious.
and Beth. Like I feel like I think eventually you guys are going to need to do a show where you guys are getting interviewed. You're probably going to have to break it up into like 2 or 3.
Thank you,
'cause-
Christina, because
I think it'd be cool if you read each other's bios.
I've Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
read
Thank
each
you.
other's
Thank you.
bios.
Gabe
This
has
is
been saying that.
public proof that I'm right.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
forever, every single you, Beth, see, and Helm, of course, because he's the worst.
I think you paid Christina $10 to say that.
I'll Venmo you later. No, is that we tell these stories about people, and everybody compliments us on the show how it's interesting and you have interesting topics that you cover, but they don't really know a lot about us. And full disclosure, I'm not even supposed to be on the show. I'm supposed to be behind
I'm not
Dan.
either. I'm not either, by the way.
And
I'm
neither-
supposed to be behind
Neither
CJ.
was Beth. She's
I'm not supposed to be either. I don't
I'm along
think.
for the ride.
We're actually all not here. We're asleep.
Somebody's supposed to
This
be
is
on the
AI
show.
talking right now.
Totally.
Somebody's supposed to be on the show.
But
I licensed my voice.
just like everybody else that we bring on the show, we find out so much more about their personality, and we're like, wow, that's so cool. We learned something we didn't know about this person. Also related to cars. So no, I would agree with you, Christina. I personally don't like talking about myself. I don't like myself.
Well,
on
nobody
camera.
really does, I think.
But no, you might be onto something. Someone might need to interview us.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be you.
Yeah, I'm down.
No,
I'm down.
I think it's so cool if you read his bio, and because you're like, I didn't know that about you. Like you'll find stuff like
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that person doesn't have to say, well, I did this and I'm from this, and
Well,
takes
I'd
the
like to
pressure off.
I'd like to read anybody's bio except for his.
I don't and I won't tell you the truth. So, but you've got a show coming up.
Yeah.
You've got a podcast that you're reviving. And I'm sure you've got like 10 different things that you could be doing.
I always have something
So
going
maybe
on.
we're gonna put this back onto you guys. Like you invite us to come onto your show, and we will absolutely do that, or your podcast, or whatever.
And I just want to say too, on that note, driving here, I thought, wow, this is my first time sharing and talking about cars with other people in a shared environment, and that raised my vibration, my joy, my excitement.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, oh my God, this is so freaking fun. Like I'm on fire for this 24/7.
And you're not even standing next to a car.
I know, but just
we need to get
minds.
together more. We need to go do some girl stuff.
Because I'm just like, your other friends and your job.
Yeah.
I want excitement.
Yeah,
I want
I'm
passion.
glad you said that because that's the reason why we're here.
Yes.
I mean, we don't make any money on the show, at least not yet, or whatever. It does have a large expense to it, and it's a lot of work. Lot of work that we all were kind of expecting, but not. And we still do it to this day. And every time we do a show, we're like, wow, that was good. That was fun. And it is fun.
Yeah.
We get to talk about cars for an hour and a half or whatever and share it,
be
with the
3
rest
hours,
of the world.
really.
And the fact, no, seriously, it can be.
Totally.
And this whole time, we're a little insecure about it. We're like, I don't know, is anybody going to like this? But people do. We have people all over the world, which is they message us and tell us how much they enjoy the stories. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So we would like to have this conversation with as many people as humanly possible, and hopefully we hope to expand the show a little bit.
I
too.
know tons of you guys know Martina Kwan. Martina Kwan, you need to have Martina Kwan. She's badass.
Martina Kwan.
She has her own racing school at Willow Springs.
Ooh.
Wow.
There you go.
Female.
What is it called? Do you know the name of the racing school?
DK Racing School.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Martina-
Yep,
Martina
I know.
Kwan.
Yep. Yeah.
Her story is amazing. I have yet to meet her, but I want to take her precision driving and stuff. But she is just a force, and I've yet to meet her, but she's someone that would be amazing on the show.
Hey,
There
Beth,
we go.
Beth, would you be down to do driving instruction on the track? Would you be down for that? I know your daughter would.
Yeah, you mean for me to be in? I'll give instructions to somebody.
No.
You drive.
No.
You drive.
No, you drive.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And the minivan, too.
Awesome.
In the minivan.
In the
minivan.
I'll
Oh,
put the
boy.
seats back in and
CJ's
go.
Porsche. CJ's Porsche.
Exactly. I love it.
She looks great in the Porsche. by
Yes,
the way.
I do. I
The
look
only thing
great.
that makes that Porsche look better is when
That's
Beth is
right.
driving.
Oh, yeah. All
That's
right.
So yeah, you
sweet.
can
Do you
take
have
it
a brother,
on the track.
CJ?
Yeah.
He's married.
I said brother.
He's married.
His brother's married.
And he's in Ohio.
She needs to get on the speed dating.
And he makes poor car decisions.
He does.
Sorry, Greg.
Yeah, he's heard that, I'm sure.
Ladies, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for taking
Thanks.
time
It's
to
an
be
honor.
with us
having
today.
us.
This was awesome. You all have great stories, and
It was
we
so
will
nice
hear
to meet you.
more.
Yeah, I
I'm so
can't
excited.
wait. I can't wait to connect and hang out. And
We don't
talk
need to be here
cars.
again.
Yeah. We'll see them together on the track.
Yes.
We'll be like, who's that over there? Oh yeah, Gabe and CJ. Yeah, okay. Watch this.
Don't forget, just don't forget about us. Don't forget about
I hope
us.
that was a gear change.
You tell me.
She knows guys. She knows guys. She's around a lot of guys. She knows guys.
Yes, I can take it and dish it. So look out.
CJ, you have to sign us off.
I do.
Yes.
No, Beth, you
I'm
do
not in
it.
charge anymore.
Oh, you do it,
Do
Beth.
it, do
Come
it
on,
your
Beth.
way.
We'll see you next time. The West of Tulsa. That's what I would say.
Perfect.
Okay.
No, you have all these and then
That's
Gabe
it.
has to chime in. You say, and it's our
YouTube
Right?
channel.
YouTube channel. There you go. I'll see you in reverse. That's where I'm going.
Oh,
I'm going in
that's
reverse.
awesome. I like that.